Well, taxpayers will pour another $3 billion into the National Broadband Network in a move Labor says would finish the job and keep prices affordable. Let's go live now to political correspondent Cameron Reddin in Canberra for us. Cam, so what will this new money actually do?
Yeah, affordable is the key word there, Holly. Not necessarily promising to make the price of internet or the price of the NBN cheaper, but the Prime Minister in his first major announcement here at Parliament House, first big press conference of 2025, promising to make the NBN more affordable over the longer term, arguing that public investment in this area is essential in order to keep prices within reach for households and also for businesses as more and more do business online. As a part of that, the Prime Minister today announcing a $3 billion investment through equity into the National Broadband Network, which he says will essentially finish the job and take the NBN off the to-do list, which is something the Prime Minister promised before the last election to do in this term. There's around 622,000 households that are still yet to be upgraded to what's known as fibre to the node. That is, in simple terms, the fastest available form of the NBN. And this money will be used to take them off the to-do list and finally connect as many of those households as possible. Now, key to this, the Prime Minister, the government, not explicitly saying that this will make the price of energy or, the internet or of people's telecommunication bills cheaper, but arguing that this form, in particular through government investment, is the way to keep it affordable over the longer term. The government remains suspicious that the coalition may, in some future government, seek to privatise the NBN, and that's why it's moving legislation in an attempt to block that. That will go back to the Senate when Parliament resumes in February. But both the Prime Minister and the Communications Minister mounting the case today that this final push of $3 billion will be enough to get the NBN job done.
Only a Labor government with a publicly owned NBN will finish the job of establishing a full fibre network for Australians to ensure that we maximise those economic benefits of the digital economy and have a future made in Australia.
And Cam, also today, the opposition leader wants to force councils to mark Australia Day if he's elected. How would he do that?
Yeah, this involves citizenship ceremonies, Holly, that are typically held on Australia Day in councils across the country. Just before Christmas, the Shadow Immigration Minister, Dan Tehan, floated this idea of forcing councils to hold those ceremonies on January 26. And Peter Dutton has today committed to do that within his first 100 days if he wins the next election. And how this would work, we can show you what's known as the Citizenship Ceremony Code. This is something that was brought in at the end of 2022 by the Labor government. And as you can see here, it provides a window of 7 days in which councils can hold citizenship ceremonies. It can be on Australia Day or the 3 days prior or the 3 days after January the 26th. So a 7-day window. Peter Dutton argues that that simply is not good enough. He says he wants to make it so that councils have to hold those ceremonies on January 26 and cannot do so on a substitute day. He argues that that move within his first 100 days, if the coalition forms government, would be about restoring pride and a sense of nationalism for the National Day.
The Prime Minister sent a signal to those councils that Australia Day didn't matter and that it was something to be ashamed of. The Prime Minister doesn't talk publicly about that, but that's exactly what he did. So would we reinstate a requirement for councils to hold citizenship ceremonies on Australia Day? You bet. It'll be done in the first 100 days and it will be a sign of pride and nationalism in our country.
In your view, is there any good reason why a council shouldn't hold it on Australia Day?
My council holds them on Australia Day, and on Australia Day I'll be here in Canberra at the national event.
The Prime Minister not directly weighing in on that, Holly, a short time ago in Canberra. Cabinet's met for the first time. Both leaders are out and about on the campaign trail, or the pre-campaign trail, I suppose. And now we all just wait until that election date is finally called.